Good morning. Good afternoon, dear participants. It's my pleasure to welcome you to FAO webinar, Agriculture Research in the Post-COVID-19 Era. Can more be produced with less? You are very welcome. This is a fifth in the series of webinars being organized by FAO's Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia. My name is Tania Santibáñez. I am Agriculture Officer and Delivery Manager of Regional Program on Sustainable Natural Resources Management and Climate Change. I am very pleased to moderate today's webinar. The main objective of the webinar is to share information and experience between governments, research institutions on the future role of the agriculture research and how innovation in agriculture production and sustainable production practice can support food security in the region, with emphasis in the most vulnerable groups. Let me share some technical information on the arrangement for the meeting. Language option, English, Russian interpretation. You can switch language by clicking on the small globe icon in the bottom. I would like to note here the Turkish language channel is not available on Zoom, unfortunately, so you can listen to the Turkish interpretation and the Korean channel. We are expecting your questions and comments in writing. For this, please use the Q&A boxes in the bottom on your screen for sharing your question. Please don't use the chat for this purpose. Our target audiences are the national stakeholders, including public and private sector, NGOs and academia in Europe and Central Asia. After this short technical introduction, let me invite Mr. Raymond Gell, Regional Program Leader, to open the webinar. Raymond, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tania. Dear colleagues, dear friends, good morning, good afternoon to everybody, distinguished speakers, panelists, participants. It's really an honor for me to welcome you to the fifth regional webinar on the COVID-19 series in the European and Central Asia region. It's not only that we are transmitting this on Zoom, but we have it also live on the YouTube channel, and it's something which has been also demonstrated in the last couple of weeks. It's very good reference. So anybody who is not able to join live today is able to still see or to also focus on some of the specific sequences of these webinars. So I think in this COVID environment, we are really using the digital issues in a very good and new way. So it's a pleasure for me to open this webinar, as Tania already said. So agricultural research in the post-COVID-19 area. Can be produced more food with less, because of course the issue of feeding the world, feeding the region, ensuring food security is still an important issue. COVID has generated health and economic crisis across the globe, and has also, as we have seen it in the recently published also FAO state of food insecurity, also affected really the food security issues. So this new threat may really add another level of pressure to the ongoing likelihood of also droughts, floods, and also transboundary pest diseases. And we have already seen that Europe and Central Asia are being adversely affected by the COVID-19. While in the past months, we were really looking into short-term issues to cope with the economic, let's say, to cope with the crisis, and the economic crisis will also have further implications. We also want to put on the agenda, and such webinars are good occasions for this, we want to put on the agenda also longer term perspective already. So the crisis also, I think, can provide a chance and also opportunity for the agriculture sector. We have seen when we talked about also the issue of digitalization, that the crisis brought a fast change, for example, to home office working. So we can probably also consider that maybe further fast changes, introducing new innovative approaches also to the agriculture sector could come out of the crisis. In this context, I think and we feel as FAO that agricultural research plays an indispensable role in generating and promoting new and innovative technologies to produce more food with fewer resources and to reduce also further the losses. So innovation in agriculture cuts across all the dimensions of the production cycle and also along the entire value chains. FAO in the region, but also globally, assists the member countries in unlocking the potential of innovation to drive also the socioeconomic growth, to ensure food and nutrition security, alleviating poverty, and improve also the resilience to climate change in order to be able to achieve still the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals in the last couple of months, I think, have been a bit lost of their attention, but I think it's really important that we are going to get also back on track, that we want to achieve the goals. Innovation on its own, we think is really a complex process where governments and other stakeholders play different roles. So from an FAO perspective, we really want to see a system-wide approach. We are supporting the governments to develop strategies that foster sustainable agriculture, mechanization, and works with small-scale enterprises, cooperatives, and local organizations to really ensure smallholder farmers, family farms have access to innovation and mechanized services. We are also advocating and promoting the importance of agriculture innovation to increase food security, to support the sustainable development, the sustainable natural resource management, and the promotion also of rural development. As of now, the COVID-19 interruptions had a minimal, let's say, impact on the food supply in the region, because the markets overall, with certain small deviations, have been remaining quite stable. But FAO is certainly also concerned that, for example, the economic crisis, the situation also with migrant workers may have access also to food in the medium and long run. So therefore, it's also more relevant than ever to make sure that proper knowledge sharing and enhance the possibility of collaboration in order to support the agricultural research sector, and the practical implication is really being further advocated. The FAO Director General, Mr. Q Dongju, has highlighted in his manifesto that FAO shall continue to work on enabling interconnectivity and all-win partnerships amongst the industries, linking it to academia and the research institutions for collaborative research. So this is something which is really quite important. And therefore, the webinar today allows us to really provide a platform for sharing information. We really want to use this to get this information sharing and experience between the government and research institutions on the future role, particularly also of agriculture research, of agriculture innovation. So we are looking really forward for good examples on how innovation in agriculture production and sustainable production practices can support food security. And we're really trying also to highlight opportunities for international collaboration and investment in science and innovation for food production and the future role of agriculture research. Our keynote speakers today are sharing their experience, how agriculture scientists have been working. A panel of the invited guests from Armenia, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey, and the European Commission will really analyze main challenges and opportunities in Europe and Central Asia, but it's maybe something which is also going beyond. And therefore, we're really looking forward to this discussion. I would like to thank you for your attention, and we're really looking forward to an interesting debate. Moving in this case, very straightforward from my introduction remarks, then certainly also to the panelists and to the keynote speakers. I'm really happy to have such distinguished keynote speakers here present. And the first one, I'm happy to welcome Dr. Leonard Mizzi, who is currently the head of the European Commission Directorate General for International Cooperation and Development. And he particularly has quite extensive also experience based on his work within the Commission, but he has been also working intensively in the Maltese public administration. He is also a visiting lecturer at the Boston University, and therefore his areas of specialization in terms of agriculture, food, nutrition, security, also in the region, will be definitely a very good basis in order to let him talk about the investment in sciences and innovation for food production. And in this case, we are very much interested, Leonard, to get your views, to get maybe also the views of the Commission in that sense. So let me give you the floor and welcome. Thank you.
Are you hearing me well?
Very well, please.
Okay. So thank you and good morning to all of you. And I would like also to extend my wishes and to the FAO team in Budapest, to Ismahin, whom I know pretty well, and to all the panelists and the participants in this webinar. And I thank the FAO regional office in Budapest, because I think in the last 4 months, what we have experienced is that through these webinars, we can exchange probably more intensely than we have been doing in the before COVID. We have been extending and sharing experiences and solutions. And what I would like maybe today is that on research and innovation, we go a bit into detail of what could be done, especially as we are entering in the European Commission jargon. Yesterday, it was a momentous historic event with the agreement of the recovery plan and the multi-financial framework, which is the framework for the next 7 years. So this spans the period from 2021 2027. And in my portfolio, I also deal with the Central Asian countries, not clearly with the European countries and the Balkans. That's other departments, mainly DG Agriculture and DG NEAR. But what we are trying to identify is what can be done in terms of a green recovery post-COVID. The COVID pandemic is still with us, and we still hear, unfortunately, of casualties, of infections. Now one speaks of second waves of infections in the region. And this is, I think, the priority is clearly to save lives and protect livelihoods, especially and including people and workers on the front line of the health system, but also farm laborers through the provision of protective equipment. So this is clearly the priority in the short to medium term, and this is clearly having a major impact on budgets. So the issue of repurposing of budgets from other sectors into the health system will also clearly have an impact on the agricultural sector and the research and innovation component. However, it's also important to understand, and this I think many governments understand, that the next sector which is vulnerable is the food system. As Raymond said, and as studies have shown, The availability dimension globally has been pretty stable, although there are clearly hotspots in terms of price inflation of certain products because of logistics, because of breakdowns in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of the free movement of goods. However, in general, the system has worked well and was resilient. What we need to understand more, and this is in collaboration clearly with the FAO, but also with other UN agencies, and the regional office in Budapest has a key role in this, is to do more periodic assessments of the medium to long term. What could be the impact, for example, of an economic recession because of a slowdown in the economies of the regions? How could livelihoods be impacted by such slowdown? And what the European Union is trying to do now that we have the multi-financial framework into place is what is known the acceleration of the ecological transition in order to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. This is the target of the European Union, that through what we now coin the European Union Green Deal, we focus more on enhancing the Earth's natural carbon sinks, such as soils and plants, forests, farmed lands, and wetlands, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, including from the agricultural sector, and transforming the food system. We have an opportune moment, and Ismail might elaborate this because of the UN Food System Summit, where the FAO has a key role, is that within a year, or a bit more than a year, we have a food system summit, which can discuss what could be the solutions and how a people-centered approach to a summit can actually provide these solutions. And the European Union is there also to support, to help countries in the region to accompany them in this transformation process, should they so wish. This should be a country-driven agenda, which should be embedded with a clear strategy, which is a national strategy. I was both in Armenia when there was the Yerevan Regional Conference, so I know pretty well much that part. I was also in Tashkent for conferences on cotton. So issues around the cotton value chain in terms of water use in value chains. We are, as European Union, a strong contributor of the Global Forum on Agricultural Research, which is hosted. And I have been in contact with a number of universities and academies from the region as well. We want to discuss with you this transformation agenda, a transformation agenda where research and innovation should support areas around the circular economy, should support a new way of doing business around industrial strategies, especially agro-industrial strategies, around the bioeconomy, around forest strategies, around blue growth strategies, around chemicals, around plastics. So all this, and we have unveiled in the last 6 months of this new commission a number of strategies that we can share with the regional office, to share also with the value chain in the different countries. It is a new way of doing business, because it's clear that the business as usual, the status quo, especially in a COVID recovery moment, will not work. So with the UN Food System Summit, this is a process which the UN Secretary General has launched a few months ago, and we have had the first advisory committee on the 7th of July. There is also a scientific committee where we as European Union want to also interact with the scientific committee to provide possible pathways and solutions. There will be a number of food systems dialogues where we would also want to engage with FAO, with IFAD, with all the UN agencies at country level, because the solutions have to be at country level, on how other models of doing business can work, whether on, for example, ecosystem services, whether on environmentally friendly food systems, We would like also to discuss with you, because the situation on all forms of malnutrition is not working as much as we would like in terms of progress. So how can we tackle undernutrition, but also problems around overnutrition, issues around overweight and obesity, but also stunting around kids who are less than 5 years old, who have become even more vulnerable because maybe a healthy diet might not have been available during the COVID period. Issues around sustainable fisheries, around the blue economy, ecological practices and agroecology, and how to enhance agroecology in our portfolio. In the last 3 years, as DG Development Cooperation, we have also discussed with a number of our member states this agroecology transition process with a focus on Africa, but we can also start sharing with you what we are doing in terms of water management, in terms of water stress, in terms of agro-pastoral societies. So it is important that we start also diffusing the best practices with your universities, and also bringing European universities in close contact with your universities and sharing these transformation models, because there are still some myths and misconceptions as to whether agroecology or modalities similar to agroecology give the right signals in terms of productivity, in terms of livelihoods, in terms of empowerment. An area which the European Union is also very focusing on and will focus on in the new financial framework is clearly gender mainstreaming in agriculture, including in agriculture research and innovation. And we have a number of programs, including Erasmus and other initiatives where we want also the agriculture and the agri-food sector to be more and more active, and also the creation of jobs for youth and also vocational training. You can't have the best of technology, including a digital agenda, which is cross-cutting in the agri-food sector, if students are not well equipped from post-secondary level to TVET, which is vocational training, and also to university, post-university, doctorate, master students. So all this, in terms of my 3 core messages, which I want to convey to the participants and to the panelists, is, first of all, a systems approach is important, meaning cross-ministerial discussions, debates, but also a visionary plan which is transformative in action, which builds on the green growth, on the green economy approach, and into a system which actually is fed by a multi-stakeholder dialogue, including farmers, including women leaders from the grassroots. This is the first priority. And dialoguing, discussing with all the stakeholders across the value chain through the food systems dialogues that the UN System Summit will unveil. So we get the feedback from those who really are on frontline. And then clearly nudging, changing old practices towards this new evolution. Secondly, I think also we need to use the momentum, hopefully, and the regional conference in Tashkent to actually be that trigger between maybe the Tashkent meeting and the summit itself, to actually come up with a solutions-based approach. What works, what we should set aside and forget, and what we should build up and scale up. Because the problem is not a problem of resources, it's a problem of bringing up concrete solutions which are actually tackled at concrete level, and also bringing universities and farmers' experiences to actually implement on the ground. Also accompanying the private sector, because we have also an important portfolio of blending and guarantees to actually unleash and support the private sector, both indigenous but also joint ventures, into this transformation agenda. And last but not least, clearly have the debate high on the international agenda. Yes, clearly the health dimension is important. Finding a vaccine is important. But I think what is also important after vaccines and protective equipment is a transformation of the food system approach. An approach which actually needs to do a rethink that research and innovation is part of the transformation system, and that we look also into local and regional markets, because this is also has shown the vulnerability to global value chains. Clearly, trade can't stop, because trade was the only solution for access to resources, but also that local and regional markets should be strengthened, and the digital agenda also should be part of this agenda. So I am with you to hear what your recommendations are, and that with our delegations at country level, we can accompany you in this process, clearly, as long as you have clear strategies of transformation, a transformation which is human rights-based approach, multi-stakeholder approach, and also focuses on this green recovery. Over to you, Raymond.
Thank you very much, Leonard, for this introduction and clearly indicating also a bit setting the scene expectations from the side of the European Union, making in this case also the span to the Food System Summit, and in that sense, what are really the expectations also from research, innovations, and also the science, but at the same time making it very clearly that there is a key requirement to invest into that. So this gives a good basis to in fact hand over to our next speaker, which is Dr. Ismail El-Ouafi, the Director General for the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture, which is based in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. Dr. El-Ouafi, she has really international experience and is a strong advocate of alternative approaches to ensure food security and nutrition in a marginal environment. And she has been already ranked since a long time as a very influential person, and has initiated also a number of programs in terms of science in the Arab world and also beyond. So we're very much honored in this case to have you also as one of the keynote speakers, and particularly we would like to hear from the Dr. El-Ouafi how agriculture scientists have been really working to make the food systems and food production more resilient, and calling also on international collaboration. So Dr. El-Ouafi, you have the floor. Very much welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raymond, and thank you very much for the invitation from FAO Regional Office in Budapest. It's always hard to speak after Leonard, but I really want to first to congratulate him and the European Commission on the Green Recovery Plan. What I am hearing, it's really music to my ears. It's really, I'm really happy about really the push for a transformation agenda, because that's what we need. I think I put together a few slides to just guide the discussion. I really think we went off track, and to put things in perspective, we need really a transformation agenda that will allow us to get back on track. As Leonard mentioned, the UN Food System Agenda Summit, it's really a great opportunity for us really to maybe have a new international and global deal. How are we going to get to really stop hunger, stop malnutrition worldwide? So I think really Leonard mentioned most of the challenges. I want to just go through them very quickly so that we put things in perspective in worldwide. So of course, the global population, it's a huge challenge that we need to produce enough for everybody. Climate change, Leonard mentioned it as well. And I think for climate change, there's a lot of misconceptions. and we need to understand the impact. And what we need to do, it's other than, of course, mitigate it, it's really understand the impact, particularly the heat component, and get ready for it. And as geneticists know, they deal with abiotic stresses. Heat wasn't on the top of our agenda, but what climate change scenarios tell us is that we have to move it up to our top agenda, because heat gonna require that crops need more water to produce the same, not produce less, not that produce more. One of the major issues that Leonard mentioned it again, it's really the many faces of hunger, not only the stunting, which is really, I would say for me, it's a crime in humanity that in 2020, we still have about 2 billion kids that are stunted and that they don't develop to their full potential because they don't have enough micronutrient. I don't think it makes sense after so long. And then we have the wasting, and we have the obesity that is coming up quite strongly as well. So what I want to say here is just that really COVID has impacted food security, and it has impacted mostly the least income countries and the middle income countries, and particularly the importing countries. So based on your capacity to import, you might or might not be impacted, but the reality of things, we all know that the least income countries has been the most impacted. So I'm moving to the next slide, but my computer is not very much helping. So what are the solutions? Let me move very quickly to solution, Raymond. So we have been talking so much about doubling the production to get to 2050 situation. And what we here is a paper, a great paper that explained that doubling the production, it's not a solution. It shows you really the real increase in productivity in the major crops like wheat, maize, rice, and soybean that actually give us about 60% of our intake. And it shows that if we keep static quo, we won't get there. And basically what the paper argument is that doubling the production is not enough. Doubling the production, it's not the solution. The solution relies on something else. And this is what I divided in 3 areas. One of them, broadening the food base. And the second one is broadening the water resources base. So let me take you through the first one, which is broadening the food base per se. And this is a slide that shows where biodiversity is. So we do know that we have a huge number of species on planet Earth. The numbers are about 400,000 species. We know that many of them could be edible, about 30,000. We know that many of them we have experience in producing and using, which is about 6,000. And yet in the market right now, we have only about 150 crop species. And only 3 of them are giving us really the majority of our needs. So the idea here is that we need to broaden. If you want a transformation of the food system, if we want a transformation of high input based agriculture system that we are in right now, we need to dig into biodiversity and pick up new crops. And this is where I'm very pleased with the new initiative that Rockefeller Foundation is moving ahead with, whereas they want to bring in a new 1,000 crops and do all the basic research to help the countries speed up their breeding program and get a better speed up results. So in those 1,000 species, they are trying to get all the region involved, and I'm sure many of the crops will be suitable, picked up from the history of East Europe and the region as well, to make sure that they are covered. The second one, it's broadening the water resources. We keep hearing, and I think the limitation for agricultural production, we talk about arable land a lot, but it's not only arable land, it's mostly water resources. So as we go forward, as climate change is heating up the planet, water resources will be more and more scarce. As other industries are picking up, water will and continue to be the biggest limitation in food production. So when I said that we need to broaden the water resources, it's look into untapped water resources like brackish water, seawater, treated wastewater, produced water from mining, water from air. So there are many other sources of water that unfortunately we have not been looking into. And our offices in Central Asia and the Caucasus in Tashkent is doing a great job working in the RLC and looking at how could we bring some of the areas in the RLC to be under production using the right crop and using saline water or brackish water. So when you look at crops, I brought here a few of them just to get out of the usual staple crops. You look at them and you could find that many of them takes a lot of salinity. Here, I didn't mention much salinity, but many of the water that exists, it's actually very saline, be it underground or seawater. And at ICBA, that's really the bread and butter of what we do. It's looking at plants that take salinity. And you could see when you get into medium salinity, you got many crops that you could use. When you get into very high salinity, you get less, but there are species out there that we can use. So at ICBA, we are doing breeding program for particularly quinoa that takes about, I would say, 30% of the salinity of the sea. We are doing also breeding programs from some perennial forages, particularly Sporobolus and Dislictis, that takes about 70% of the salinity of the sea. And we have also one breeding program for Saliconia, for which we use directly the salinity, the water from the sea, which is the highest level of salinity. So just to show you those crops that we work on, so we call them climate resilient crop because we know they could use those untapped water, saline water. They have heat tolerance, almost all of them, and they have, of course, with it the drought tolerance. So here is the quinoa. We work as well on pearl millet and sorghum, and we are very happy that many of the varieties that we developed with ICRISAT has been registered in Central Asia countries. When we talk about new crops, particularly as food, the value chain approach, it's extremely important. Leonard mentioned it, and that really was the limitation. It takes time to get people to be used to certain crops, and that's why it's very important to take it from A to Z to bring up the awareness about the importance of these crops, and particularly now with the interest in plant-based diet, in protein, in plant protein, and in nutrition at large by many of the population. It's a good time really to bring in crops like quinoa and pearl millet. And this crop, it's not that they have not been used. They have been used for thousands and thousands of years, but their production and their consumption went down because of the globalization, because of many other reasons, and because mostly, even now, they are not affordable in terms of price. So I always give the example of millet in Senegal. It used to be a staple crop. Right now, it's the crop of the rich. And it is the right crop for the poor people because it has micronutrients, it has the iron that they need, it has the zinc, and so on and so forth. So when we move into high salinity, we call it halophytic crops. And I'm going to talk about Saliconia because it's a very interesting story how to use seawater for agriculture. But for the other crops, be it the Dislictis or the Sporobolus or Blue Panicum, it's very important that we get those crops back in production because they're going to take pressure on the freshwater resources that we might want to keep for mostly vegetables or other crops. So for Saliconia, we have engaged in an aquaponics system to really make it feasible inland and on the coastal area. And what we do in the grand scheme of things, and we are trying it right now in the RLC, is that we start from a desalination from the groundwater, which is a very common thing that is done in most of the countries with saline water. When you do desalination, you got about 1/3 of the water that is fresh that you can use for your vegetables. And then you got 2/3 that is very, very saline, very close to the salinity of the sea, because we are starting from very saline groundwater that you use from fish. And from the fish, you are recycling the water and the nutrient to do your saliconia or your other crops. So saliconia, people might not know it. It's a very, very tough and a crop that really grows almost everywhere on the coastal area and in many desertic areas as well. And it has multi-purpose. It can be used as a biofuel because it has about 30% oil content. It could be used in a mix for forages as a feed. But we got interested in it lately with Expo 2020 as a vegetables. And that's where we work directly with chefs and with private sector to develop different products, from juice to appetizers to crackers to burgers. I remember I was in Spain a few years ago, and I remember an ex-minister in foreign affairs in Spain. He said, Ismahan, I always ask myself, why do we need to put salt on the salad? Why don't you get the salt in the tomato? And this is really what saliconia is. It absorbed the salt and it became famous because you could add it to your salad as a condiment per se. So it's like a salty plant that gives you your necessity of salt without adding the salt per se. Anyhow, now moving to what you asked me for, which is the importance of research for development. And I think it goes without saying. All the innovation we got to was because of research and development. All the major changes in the different waves of revolution happened because of science. So I think science, it's very important, and local science is very important. So there are certain things that applies to everywhere, but when it comes to agriculture, the ecosystem takes over. What you have out there, what soil you have, what temperature you have, what source of water you have, how is the cycle, it's very important. And that's why local research and localizing the research is very important. In Central Asia, I'm happy that we are working with many of you in the region, but I think we need to speed up more research because you have a very special environment that requires really the local involvement. I have my colleagues from Tashkent with me online here, and I hope that they will engage with you further. But I think bringing up new of the crops and changing the agricultural system in the Central Asia country particularly, it's required and needed as we see salinity rocketing the sky. The second component on the investment, it's really the empowerment of women. I think, again, it was mentioned by Leonard, both youth and women are the force that we have to get ready for tomorrow because the environment is going to be more complex than in one days. We are very happy that we pioneered the program with the Islamic Development Bank and with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to do empowerment of Arab women in science. So we don't have enough women in general in the workforce. When you look into scientific field, you have less. And I think really this has to change. We are in the midst of developing a program for Central Asia and the Caucasus, and we hope really that it's gonna fly. And the idea is really bring scientists, women scientists, and give them a chance to grow in their careers because they have done already the job. Most of them are already with their high degrees, but they disappear in the workforce and in the management, and we need to bring them back. And with that also, we need to bring back youth to agriculture because we can't produce enough for everybody unless the youth and the private sector is fully engaged. So just to close, I think that COVID-19 have highlighted to us the need to diversify our food system and to rely less on the movement of goods. We need to do that to get to future food security. We need to broaden our food base through exporting biodiversity. We need also to broaden our food system via exploiting marginal environments and particularly alternative water in those marginal environments. And I think investment in science and innovation, it's a no-brainer, it's needed and very much needed. With that, I think I like this quote. Here, what I know about the future, it happens as a result of what we do today. So our future could be far better. It could be greener. It could be cleaner, but we need to take the right decision today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ismane, for this fascinating presentation, and particularly highlighting several of these issues. I was very happy also to see the issue of broadening the food base, the broadening also of the water resources. One interesting thing which I've also seen, I was not fully aware that quinoa is much more, let's say, resilient to salinated environment than others, which I think is interesting and goes along the line. So very good. Also, thanks for mentioning also the local research, and I think this is a good basis to pass on to our next speakers. Actually, we have two speakers jointly doing the next presentation. We have Dr. Sergey Maslovsky and Dr. Nina Duchenko from Moscow Timiryazev Academy, the Russian Federation, which are talking about their experience. And particularly, Mr. Maslovsky has been working at the technological department of the Timiryazev Academy, and his research works is particularly on influence of growing conditions of the formation of productivity related to also vegetables and also new varieties. And Dr. Duchenko is Doctor of Technical Sciences and a member of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, and she is specialized in merchandising, food safety and hygiene. And so I think with this, we will have another important and great dimension adding to this. So again, Ismail, thank you for this great presentation. And in this case, I would like to hand over to Sergey and Nina. I don't know who is going to start from your side.
Сергей начнет первый.
We cannot hear you, Sergey. There is a sound issue. There is a sound issue, Sergey. We maybe you have to adjust on the interpretation channel, or I have to go to the English. Can you try again? I can hear you, the interpretation I can hear under English, yeah, right? Okay, Sergey, there is still a sound problem. We were able to hear Nina, so maybe Nina, you want to start? No, Sergey, we cannot hear you.
Да, с удовольствием. Спасибо. Меня слышно достаточно хорошо?
Okay, so Nina,
Очень хорошо слышно.
Please move ahead.
Спасибо. Уважаемые дамы и господа, добрый день. Я выражаю огромную благодарность организаторам данного вебинара за приглашение, за возможность участия в таком, безусловно, профессиональном вебинаре на очень интересную, интересующую всю общественность мира тему. Разрешите, я сейчас открою свою презентацию.
We cannot see yet the presentation, Nina.
Видно? Нет? Совместное использование.
Not yet. No, we still see you.
Так, да, я пытаюсь установить презентацию. Ее вижу.
You need to share the screen, Nina.
Так. Да, сейчас видно?
That looks good. You may need to enlarge a bit.
Видно, говорите.
Да,
пожалуйста.
спасибо
Or make it a bit smaller, or go into presentation mode.
Уважаемые
And then
коллеги,
it should
уважаемые
be,
друзья,
that's great. That's excellent. Very good.
разрешите мне пару слов сказать о себе. Я доктор технических наук, профессор, преподаю такие дисциплины, как управление качеством продукции, разработка систем менеджмента качества, продовольственную безопасность и так далее. Но здесь виден мой послужной список. Я, так сказать, давно работаю в этой области знаний, и основная сфера деятельности – это технические науки, учебно-методическая деятельность, аккредитация и лицензирование образовательной деятельности российских вузов. Я аккредитованный эксперт по государственной аккредитации, лицензированию высших учебных заведений, член Аккредитационного совета учебно-методических объединений, член отраслевых журналов, ВАК, наукам Совета ВАК, являюсь членом 4 технических комитетов, член Молочного союза, ну и академик Российской академии естественных наук. Это вот очень коротко о себе. Последние годы я заведую кафедрой управления качеством и товароведения продукции. Очень интересная тема нашего вебинара затрагивает пандемию коронавирусной инфекции COVID-19, имеет далеко идущие последствия. Помимо самого распространения болезни и попыток разных стран организовать карантин, в СМИ феномен влияния заболевания на жизнь общества и его последствия все чаще называют термином коронакризис. Тема сегодняшнего вебинара задает основной вопрос: можно ли производить больше с меньшими затратами? Ну, на этот вопрос ответить однозначно сложно. На мой взгляд, к основным факторам, обуславливающим производство и потребление сельскохозяйственной продукции в условиях пандемии COVID-19 относятся финансовая поддержка или господдержка производителей сельскохозяйственной продукции, колебания роста на сырье, вспомогательные материалы, ингредиенты, упаковочные материалы, сокращение потерь сельскохозяйственного сырья от поля, фермы до переработки, в процессе переработки и реализации. Нехватка площадей для реализации хранения сельскохозяйственного сырья и продовольствия, проблемы обеспечения условий хранения сырья и продукции, проблема сохранения сроков годности готовой продукции. Следующие факторы – это наличие систем прослеживаемости при производстве сельскохозяйственного сырья и продовольствия с целью обеспечения его безопасности и качества, проблема обеспечения перевозок, хранения и сбыта в логистических схемах, сокращение отходов продуктов в системах потребления и необходимость отечественного производства кормов для животных. Итак, риски, связанные с поставкой, хранением и распространением продовольствия, по результатам опроса товаропроизводящих цепочек, больше всего пострадали секторы рыбной продукции, овощей, мяса, молочной продукции, пшеницы и картофеля. А также фермеры, торгующие на уличных рынках, рестораны и предприятия общественного питания, поставщики средств производства для сельскохозяйственного производства, операторы транспортных средств. За последние 3 месяца промышленное производство и торговля России столкнулись с серьезными вызовами, требующими существенной корректировки производственных процессов и товаропроизводящих цепочек. Так, в связи с возникновением в марте ажиотажного спроса на продовольственную продукцию, товаропроизводители в разы увеличили поставки наиболее востребованных товаров, а торговые сети, в свою очередь, пошли им навстречу в части авансирования закупок, выполняя при этом требования Минпромторга России о поддержании двухмесячного запаса продовольствия. В текущих условиях, когда, несмотря на резко возросший спрос на продовольствие, общие показатели объема продовольственной торговли снизились на 9%. И в первую очередь пострадали мелкие торговые точки и отечественные сельхозпроизводители. Вопрос о создании системы многоформатной торговли, в частности, путем развития нестационарной торговли и ярмарок, снова встал очень остро. Правительства стран стремятся обеспечить запасы для внутренних потребителей и избежать рост цен, связанных с ситуацией COVID-19. По данным глобальной системы информации, раннего предупреждения ФАО, объем производства зерна в 2020 году и конечный запас близки к рекордным и оцениваются как достаточные. Правительство Российской Федерации ввело квоты на экспорт пшеницы, ржи, ячменя и кукурузы в страны, не входящие в Евразийский экономический союз. Розничные цены на продукты питания с января по апрель 2020 года практически не изменились, кроме гречки. Это был ажиотажный спрос на этот вид продукции, который возрос на 47%. Риса на 9%, хлебные изделия на 6%, пшеничная мука на 5%, но одновременно были снижены цены на подсолнечное масло, свинину, лук репчатый, картофель, морковь и капусту. В 2020 году кормовой рынок России переживал определенные потрясения, вызванные пандемией коронавирус-19 и резким ростом курса валют. Резко подорожали витамины. Например, витамин А подорожал на
Dina, could I also remind you of the time, please?
Витамин Е на 50%, витамин В2 на 50%, D3 100 и биотин на 200%. Отдельную проблему для производства кормов составляет также тот факт, что более 80% сырьевых компонентов для производства в России кормов являются импортными. Значительно подорожали ветеринарные препараты, запчасти, моющие средства, семена, удобрения и средства защиты.
There is no interpretation.
Аналитики прогнозируют снижение потребления спроса на молоко и молочные продукты до 8-10% и уменьшение емкости внутреннего
We
рынка.
lost interpretation.
Да, алло, да.
We cannot hear the translation.
Да, я могу продолжать.
Yes, please.
Продовольственная безопасность страны и развитие экспортного потенциала превращают сельскохозяйство России в высокотехнологичную отрасль, способную обеспечить страну запасами продовольствия. 9 июня опубликовано поручение президента Российской Федерации в связи с ситуацией в сельском хозяйстве и пищевой промышленности, в котором приведены первоочередные меры. Это выделять больше средств на субсидии производителям сельскохозяйственной продукции и специальной техники, а также лизинговым компаниям, выделить дополнительные средства для льготного сельхозпроизводства, создать сквозные системы прослеживаемости зерна, снизить стоимость экспортной железнодорожной перевозки сельскохозяйственного сырья и продовольствия и снизить затраты на доставку рыбы из регионов Дальнего Востока в европейскую часть страны через Северный морской путь. Распоряжение правительства Российской Федерации от 9 июня 2020 года за номером 1516 утвердило план мероприятий или дорожную карту по реализации положений доктрины продовольственной безопасности Российской Федерации, которая включает основополагающие мероприятия, такие как обеспечение контроля пищевой продукции, обязательным требованием технических регламентов Евразийского экономического союза, реализация мероприятий, направленных на развитие сельских территорий в рамках государственной программы Российской Федерации, комплексное развитие сельскохозяйственных территорий с учетом положения доктрины продовольственной безопасности. Реализация основных положений политики Российской Федерации в области здорового питания и поддержка разработок реализации новых видов конкурентоспособной российской техники и оборудования с целью обеспечения качественного сбора, хранения, переработки и реализации сельскохозяйственного сырья и продовольствия, расширение ассортимента изготавливаемой продукции и выпуска пищевых продуктов с высокой добавленной стоимостью. Перечисленные мной мероприятия напрямую связаны с подготовкой кадров для аграрного сектора, сельского хозяйства и пищевой промышленности. Спектр образовательных программ, которые реализуются в Российском государственном аграрном университете имени Климента Аркадьевича Тимирязева, уже сегодня в полной мере обеспечивает потребность в специалистах разного уровня, профиля и направленности. Более того, наличие пахотных земель, ферм, парка сельскохозяйственной техники, перерабатывающих модулей, техники, а также преподавательский корпус генетиков, селекционеров, агрономов, механиков, специалистов по защите растений, конструкторов, технологов пищевой промышленности и так далее, позволяет в комплексе обеспечивать подготовку таких специалистов, которые сейчас необходимы сельскому хозяйству России. Я благодарю за внимание и благодарю еще раз за возможность выступить перед вами.
Thank you very much, Nia, for this presentation. Very much appreciated, very clear and straight forward. So I think it gives a good basis of what is being done also on the Timiryazev Academy and at the national level. So in this case, very briefly, I would like to ask Sergey if the connection in the meantime is working. Sergey, if we can hear you, then I would ask you to take the floor. But I would like to remind you, unfortunately, a bit of the time, because we are running 15 minutes late already. So maybe you can do your intervention very briefly. Sergey, the floor is yours.
Слышно меня?
No, we cannot.
Слышим, все, говорите, пожалуйста.
Спасибо. Уважаемый доктор Раймонд, уважаемые коллеги,
Now it's
позвольте поблагодарить организацию ФАО за предоставленную площадку, за возможность для проведения подобной дискуссии. И позвольте коротко охарактеризовать современное состояние и возможные перспективы развития отрасли хранения и переработки плодовочной продукции в свете современных событий, в свете пандемических угроз. Итак, почему мы остановились именно на данной отрасли? Экономисты выделяют 3 сферы сельского хозяйства. Первая сфера – это производство, сельхозпроизводства, сельхозмашины, технологическое оборудование. Вторая сфера – это сельскохозяйственное сырье поставщик сырья для перерабатывающей промышленности. Третья сфера – это, собственно, хранение, первичная переработка. И четвертая сфера – это организация структур, обеспечивающих продвижение сельскохозяйственной продукции. Можно запустить презентацию, пожалуйста? Ладно, хорошо. Позвольте, тогда без презентации продолжим. Можно? Итак, особенности нашей отрасли хранения и первичной обработки сельского сырья заключается в следующем. Первая особенность – это то, что в России выраженная сезонность производства. Поступление свежей продукции у нас, условно говоря, идет с октября по июля по октябрь. А народ нужно обеспечивать продукцией в течение всего года. Вторая особенность – это необходимость высокотехнологичного оборудования. Это современных холодильников, современных хранилищ, в том числе с контролируемым составом газовой среды. Это средства поддержания оптимальных параметров и так далее. Третья особенность нашей отрасли заключается в том, что имеет место высокий риск весовых потерь.
Sergey, sorry to interrupt you. We do not have a presentation, so we cannot see the presentation. So we are assuming.
Можно это? Я сбрасывал презентацию, присылал.
Unfortunately, we did not receive the presentation.
Можно тогда дайте, разрешите вы показ слайдов. Разрешите мне показ экрана. Так. Спасибо. Видно?
Yes, we can see it now.
Спасибо. Да, значительный риск весовых потерь продукции при хранении и снижению его качества. И последний, хотя вот этот пункт следовало поставить на первое место, это существенное влияние условий выращивания на сохраняемость и на качество и сохраняемость продукции. 60% потенциальной сохраняемости формируется на прижизненном цикле, периоде выращивания, и 40 уже отводится на технологии, на условия выращивания. На данном слайде показана структура производства и структура потерь различных видов сельскохозяйственной продукции на этапе ее хранения. Как видим, наибольшее приходится на овощную продукцию до 30%, примерно столько же приходится на картофель и до 35% приходится на плодово-ягодную продукцию. Суммарная потеря в денежном выражении в целом по всем видам сельскохозяйственной продукции могут составлять 85-90 миллионов рублей, что характеризует нашу отрасль как существенный резерв для повышения эффективности сельскохозяйственного производства. Какие же проблемы мы можем отметить на сегодняшний этап? Первые два пункта, они характеризуют проблемы с производством лёжкоспособной продукции. Во-первых, не все импортные сорта и гибриды овощных культур, это относится к овощным культурам, которые поступают из-за рубежа, и это импортно-посевной материал, адаптированы нашим агроклиматическим условиям и позволяют обеспечить высококачественную лёжкую продукцию. Поэтому тут широкий простор для творчества ученых-селекционеров. Необходимо вести селекционную работу не только по урожайности, не только по товарности, не только по устойчивости к болезням, но и по пригодности к длительному хранению. Столовых корнеплода обеспечить хранение в течение 7-8 месяцев, белокочанную капусту 6-7 месяцев, лук до 8, то есть обеспечить поступление продукции от урожая предыдущего года до поступления урожая следующего года. Второе – это агротехника. Ну, вот не секрет, что многие овощеводческие хозяйства специализированные насыщают семаоборот белокочанной капустой, наиболее рентабельная культура, наиболее рентабельная овощевая культура. В результате происходит накопление инфекционного начала в почве, заражение продукции и, соответственно, возникновение болезни вперед к хранению. Соблюдение семаоборота, соблюдение системы удобрений, системы орошения – это является залогом получения качественной продукции. Что касается материально-технической базы. Первая проблема – это недостаточная оснащенность крупнотоннажными складскими комплексами. 60 тысяч тонн вместимостью – это в стране единицы. Комплексов емкостью 30-40 тысяч тонн, ну, буквально порядка десятка по стране. В основном обходится плодоводческие овощеводческие хозяйства вместимостью до 20 тысяч тонн. И еще отсюда вытекает следующая проблема. То, что на сегодняшний день
Sergey, can I ask you to wrap up?
Да, хорошо. То есть вот основные проблемы представлены на этом слайде. И вот в каких направлениях будет двигаться наша отрасль. Это селекция и агротехника, направлена на получение не только высокой урожайности, но и сохраняемости продукции. Это разработка низкозатратных технологий, на которых хотел немножко остановиться. Это, в частности, использование препаратов, ингибирующих этилен. Разработан недавно препарат фитомат, который мы рассматриваем как альтернатива применения контролируемой атмосферы. Использование иммуномодулирующих препаратов, естественных, экологически безопасных. Сейчас на нашей кафедре проводилась работа по использованию препаратов таких как ПИН, ЦЕРКОН, которые показали свою высокую эффективность при хранении семян картофеля. Это совершенствование материально-технической базы. В нашей стране недостаточно развита технология хранения в условиях контролируемой атмосферы. Ну и немаловажный вопрос – это подготовка высококвалифицированных кадров для отрасли. В Российской Федерации специалистов-плодовщиков готовят только два вуза. Это мы и Мичуринский государственный аграрный университет. Вот решение этой проблемы, она как раз вот будет направлена на совершенствование и успешное развитие нашей отрасли. Благодарю за внимание. Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Sergey, for this clear insight, in particular also in the conclusions and recommendations, what is needed here and what you're also working on. And thanks also to Nina for her insights in the work of the Academy. So this, I think, gives a good basis to move on to our next and also the final, let's say, keynote speaker, before we will then have hopefully a bit of time for some questions and answers. I'm happy to welcome Winnie Altstein, a neurochemist, and she's the director of economic affairs from the Volcany Center Agriculture Research Organization in Israel. So Winnie has collaborated within the framework of national and binational grants with many groups also in Israel. And I think we are very much looking forward in her presentation how the agriculture research is really a strategy to respond to the COVID implications. So Winnie, very welcome to you, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation, and thanks to the previous speakers for very enlightening presentations. What I will do in the course of my presentation is I will introduce to you the research that is being carried out at the Agricultural Research Organization, ARO, and then I will try and indicate how the research and innovative studies that we're carrying out can help to cope with the post-COVID area. So the Agricultural Research Organization is almost 100 years old. It has been established in 1921. It's a governmental research organization, and it is the largest agricultural research institute in Israel, covering the vast majority of agricultural research in the country. The ARO is divided into 6 institutes and 2 research centers, all of which focus on agricultural, environmental, and food science research. So we have a post-harvest institute, which focuses on food losses, on prevention of food losses and extension of shelf life of post-harvest produce. Soil and Water Institute, which focuses on efficient usage of water and soil preservation. Animal Science Institute, which focuses on a higher yield production of meat from different animal farms and dairy products, as well as aquaculture. Plant Protection Institute, which focuses on coping with plant diseases, infestation, and insect pests. Plant Science Institute, which focuses on development of novel varieties, and obviously I will extend on the different activities in a second. Agricultural Engineering Institute, which develops machinery and different devices based on robotics and automation to cope with or to help in all agricultural areas. And 2 research centers, one in the north, which focuses on development of health food, many spices and natural products that can serve as food additives and medicinal for medicinal uses, and a center in the southern part of Israel, which is called Gilat, and focuses on agriculture at the edge of the desert. The scientific ID of the ARO can be summarized in 4 sentences. We do research that spans all the way from basic to applied research. All research, even if they are very basic, are target-oriented and should mature at a certain point, either with a protocol, a technology, a variety, a compound, a pesticide, etc., etc. The research is multidisciplinary. As you saw, we have different institutes and scientists do collaborate with each other. We integrate cutting-edge innovating technologies in all our research areas, and the research at our institute is based on a strategic research plan, which is updated every few years by discussions with policymakers, the Ministry of Agriculture, scientists from our institute, different other institutes, stakeholders, etc., etc. We have a lot of collaborations which are national and international. We are not a university, but we do have national and international students, special programs for postdocs. We have special programs for, of course, Israeli postdocs, but also postdocs from India, China, and Japan who can come for 2 years, and they are paid by the Israeli government to do their postdoctoral training for 2 years in our institute. We have scholar exchange programs. We collaborate very, very closely with extension services, with we have 8 regional research and development centers in Israel. They are not part of the ARO, but we collaborate with them very closely. We collaborate with farmers as well as stakeholders. We have a commercialization unit, and we are hands-on on the requirements and demand of commercial companies. We have a lot of international courses which are given to farmers, extension services, students, and different guests coming from many different countries, mainly from developing countries, and this is in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And we have a lot of international collaborative projects within the frame of bi- and multinational grants and different MOUs. We, of course, collaborate with Europe. We now became a member of the EIT food consortium. We apply for many different, Israel is not part of the EU, but it's an associate country, and we can apply for European Union projects, many US projects. We have a special program for collaboration with Asia and Mediterranean countries, which is funded by the United States. It's called MERC, Middle Eastern Regional Cooperation, and we have a lot of at least 30 cooperative projects with neighboring countries and countries in Africa and Asia, and other countries in Europe and worldwide. Now I would like to summarize in 3 slides very, very briefly almost 700 projects that are being carried out in our institute. So the first one is breeding varieties. We breed varieties, main crops, as well as different fruits and vegetables. In main crops, mainly wheat and cereal, where we put an emphasis on development of new varieties, on to increase biodiversity, to increase shelf life, to generate health food, to develop varieties which have higher yields with that can be grown with less resources, higher nutritional value, pathogen resistance, year-round availability, etc., etc. Another issue that we've just started is development of alternative protein, or looking for alternative protein sources which can help in reduction of consumption of animal protein, production of long shelf life foods, development of novel crops for farmers, etc., etc. Another major issue is, of course, food safety. Food safety, in this area, we focus on food free of toxic pesticides by development of novel environment-friendly pesticides, food free of pathogens, development of integrated pest management strategies, nano-based formulations to save on pesticides as well as to make them more efficient. Food security is an issue which is of major importance. We have a lot of activities on prevention of food losses, mainly grains, many fruits and vegetables, but we've developed a method to preserve grains for long storage periods with losses that are reaching 0.4%, and this is very, very impressive and important, taking into account that in some places, sometimes the losses of grain storage reaches nearly 20 or 25%. Extension of shelf life of stored fruits, vegetables, and main crops by tailor-made protocols based on storage conditions, different packaging, biological control, nanopolymer coating, etc., etc. Food sensing, non-invasive development of non-invasive methods to determine food ripeness, maturation, nutritional content, presence of pesticides, and presence of pathogens. We started a few projects on vertical farming or urban agriculture, which enables to grow crops near the target market, which enables a shorter time of the crop to get to the market and the consumer, less food losses, enables growth where land is scarce or inadequate for agricultural development, and save expenses on land, sea and air transportation. Global climate change has been mentioned by previous speakers. We focus on development of varieties that can withstand abiotic stress, drought, floods, etc., etc., and soil stress, efficient water management. Israel is known for a very, very high percentage of using recycled water and desalinated water. We develop methods for precise irrigation, controlling plant perspiration, and it is extremely important to develop very precise protocols for each crop, because each crop may require different conditions to yield yield crops, and not all crops, even different varieties. We do a lot of studies on olives. Different olive varieties react differently to different irrigation protocols. Agricultural Engineering Institute focuses on development of artificial intelligence approaches, robotics, automation, and precision agriculture and remote sensing. This can save on labor, save on materials, pesticides, water, fertilization, dramatic increase in all aspects of efficient crop management, from seeding to harvest, and to ensure quality control. Soil land preservation focuses on prevention of erosion, employment of natural polymers to preserve land, and microclimate control. Waste management is also a major issue in our institute. Usage of agricultural waste efficiently for animal feed, as fertilizers, as growth beddings, and as an energy source, and all of the above, while keeping the environment sustainable. So the projects and the that I have described, each one of the research areas result in development of innovative approaches. It provides food that can cope with climate changes, produce high yields at reduced prices, prevent food losses, increase food security, preserve natural resources, use natural resources more efficiently, and keep the environment sustainable. Now, if we go to the COVID area, what are the main, of course, apart from the illness and the medical issues, which I will not refer to, which caused the major problem worldwide, what are the issues that are related to food and nutrition that emerged during this area. So first of all, there is lack of information on food transmission diseases, storage, or not lack, or maybe insufficient information. I should be a bit more careful. Shortage of manpower due to closures, due to people that could not get to work, limited transportation, unemployment, and economic crisis, which resulted or may result, if the pandemic continues, in reduced food production, fresh and processed, reduced food supply to markets and consumers, shortage of food supply at the national level, inability to avoid foodborne diseases, food losses, and as a result of this, high food prices. So how can agricultural research cope with COVID the COVID post era related to food and nutrition? So reduced food production can definitely be improved by artificial intelligence approaches and robotics, just in order to improve food production processes. Shortage of food supply can also be handled efficiently by artificial intelligence. Now, the use of artificial intelligence to transport food from the farmer's gate to different markets is being developed based on artificial intelligence. This is an emerging area of research which really is very promising. Extended storage should be taken care of. This necessitates or requires extended shelf life products, development of products that have already long shelf life, let's say proteins from plants as opposed to dairy products. Prevention of food losses and food sensing in order to be able to determine, let's say, the ripeness of a product and send it first to the market as opposed to a fruit or vegetable which is not yet fully ripened and then can be shipped later. Improvement of food supply to markets and customers, again, by artificial intelligence, improvement of digital services, direct marketing from farmers to the customers, and vertical marketing, as I mentioned, that can produce crops near to the consumers' area. Economical problems requires...
Can I ask you really to wrap up?
That's my last slide. One before the last slide. Production of high yield and cost-effective crops, highly nutritional food, vertical farming, efficient usage of resources, precision agriculture, circular economy, all of which can reduce food cost, and lack of information on foodborne disease can be solved by food sensors that can help to avoid disease transmission by food. What are the take-home messages, which is obvious to this audience? Innovative and multidisciplinary agricultural and food security research serve as a highly potential basis to cope with pandemics, climate change, poverty, economic crisis, and other emerging problems, and should be facilitated and developed by, and this is my sum up message, investments in innovative technologies in agriculture, extended collaboration between countries, within countries and internationally, encouragement of entrepreneurship, and most important, education. Educating farmers to accept sustainable agriculture, educating extension services to convey novel technologies and applications and protocols from the laboratories to the farmers, and most important, to encourage young scientists and to open them with to acquaint them with the high potential and high importance of innovative agricultural technologies, so the best people will join the field, and with appropriate funding, this can really give a major boost to the area. Thank you very, very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Vinny, for this great presentation and great insight, really in
Thank you very much.
Of the Institute, and really very good overview. Dear colleagues, dear audience, this in fact concludes, and I have to tell you, this concludes the part with the keynote speakers, and in this case, I think with the keynotes from Leonard, Isman, Sergey, Mina, and also Vinny. We have really had a great, let's say, basis and a great overview in terms of the demand, the importance, the areas of the work, the innovative areas which also could come out of this. Now, I have to apologize. We are very much running over time, so I can certainly understand that not everybody is going to stay with us, but we would like to continue in this case and going to the second part, which is now the panel discussion. And we have interesting panelists which are debating some of the questions. So we are very much looking forward, still due to the overtime, that you can stay with us. And with this, I will hand over back to Tanya to moderate this part and to have now the difficult part to manage the time within this environment. So I would like to thank particularly the keynote speakers again. And Tanya, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Raymond, and the speakers. I would like to inform, as Raymond already mentioned, that to all the participants that our webinar will be continue until 12 hours in order to continue our discussion with our distinguished panelists. In this regard, I would like to introduce our panelists today. Mr. Abudek Asalies, Scientific Secretary of Kyrgyzstan National Agrarian University of Kyrgyzstan, Mr. Johan Kisilsi, Head of the Department of Horticulture Research, General Directorate of Agriculture Research and Policy from Turkey, Mrs. Aniko Shuhas, Deputy State Secretary, Ministers for Agriculture, Hungary, and Co-Chair of Standing Committee of Agriculture Research. Mrs. Soya Haleborayan, Deputy Head of Agriculture Advisory, Innovation and Monitoring Department from Armenia. Now we will start with the question. I would like ask first a generic question for all of our panelists. I would like to request to panelists to note that the time with our discussion is very limited. We are, as you know, a little behind. So I will appreciate if your intervention with no longer than 2 minutes each. Thank you for your understanding. The first question to all panelists is, what would be the main challenge which agriculture will face to produce more food with less resources in this post-COVID-19 era? Let's start with Mr. Gohan Kilsi from Turkey. Please. The floor is yours, Johan. Your microphone, please, is muted. Okay.
Can you hear me? Beni duyabiliyor musunuz?
Yes,
okay.
Please go ahead.
Öncelikle bu webinara ben Türkiye olarak bizi davet ettiğiniz için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çok faydalı bilgiler öğrendik. Önce kendimi siz tanıttınız. Ben uzun yıllar Ar-Ge'de araştırmacı olarak çalıştıktan sonra şu an Türkiye'nin Tarım ve Orman Bakanlığı'nda Tarımsal Araştırmalar ve Politikalar Genel Müdürlüğü'nde tarımsal araştırmayı organize eden bir kurumuz. Türkiye'de tarımsal alanda kamuya, yani bakanlığımıza bağlı 48 enstitü mevcut. Bu enstitüler Türkiye'nin dört bir tarafında dağılmış durumda. Bölgelere göre çalışma alanları değişiyor. Ben öncelikle COVID ile ilgili aslında bizim bazı kötü durumlardan olumlu sonuçlar çıkarmamız gerektiğini düşünüyorum. Mesela gıda konusunun dünyada savunma sektörü kadar, enerji sektörü kadar önemli bir konu olduğu bu bu pandemi sürecinde ortaya çıktı. Yani bir dünyada, ülkelerde, hükümetlerde gıda ile ilgili, gıda güvenliği ile ilgili bir algı oluştu, bir farkındalık oluştu. Pandeminin bizim meslek açısından, tarımcılar olarak bizlere böyle bir farkındalığın oluşması açısından ben bir faydası olduğunu düşünüyorum. Bu ülkeler ve hükümetler hemen refleksler gösterdi gıda güvenliği açısından ve tedbirlerini almaya başladılar. Biz de ülke olarak güçlü tarımsal altyapısı ve ticari altyapısı olarak bu pandemi başladığından günümüze kadar tedbirlerimizi her alanda aldık ve şu ana kadar gıda güvenliği açısından bir sıkıntı, ciddi bir sıkıntı yaşamadık. Yani bu toplantının konusu olan özellikle COVID sürecinde Ar-Ge'nin önemi, azla daha fazla nasıl üretebiliriz konusu önemli. Aslında dediğim gibi COVID yalnızca bir farkındalık oluşturdu. Küresel iklim değişikliği olsun, tarımsal kaynakların, doğal kaynakların azalması, biyoçeşitliliğin azalması gibi konular zaten hep gündemimizdeydi. Bunlara yönelik geçmişten beri üretimin artırılması ve doğal kaynakların korunması ile ilgili Ar-Ge çalışmalarını ülke olarak biz yapıyoruz. Aynı zamanda dünyada da bunu yapıyordu. Şunu gördük ki bu konuların daha ciddi ele alınması geleceğimiz açısından, insanlık açısından çok daha önem arz ediyor diye düşünüyorum. Özellikle sorunun konusu olan az kaynakta daha fazla nasıl üretebiliriz? Bunun temelinde ıslah çalışmaları geliyor. Özellikle yerli çeşitlerin üretilmesi. Çünkü şunu gördük, pandemi başlandıktan sonra ülkeler tedbir amaçlı bazı ihracat yasakları getirdiler. Belki lojistik sorunlardan dolayı bazı problemler çıktı. Şu ortaya çıktı ki artık her ülke kendi yerli tohumunu, kendi yerli çeşidini geliştirmek zorunda. Kendi genetik kaynaklarını, biyolojik çeşitliliğini kullanarak kendi çeşitlerini geliştirip bunu üretime kazandırma zorunluluğu ortaya çıktı. Bu aynı şekilde yine zaten tarımsal üretimin temeli tohum. Tohumda olduğu gibi yine gübrede, yine pestisitlerde yerli üretimin önemi ortaya çıktı diye düşünüyorum. Biz de Tarımsal Araştırma Genel Müdürlüğü olarak kendi enstitülerimizde yerli çeşitlerin geliştirilmesi, yerli kaynaklarla gübre ve pestisit üretilmesi konusunda çok önemli projeler başlattık. Geçmişten beri zaten yapıyor idik. Ancak pandemiyle birlikte daha da bunu hızlandırıyoruz. İkinci bir, yani bu konuda tarım alanlarının...
One minute, please. Continue.
Okay. Diğer bir konu da tarım alanlarının azalıyor. Yani bu şehirleşme ve sanayileşmeye maalesef karşısında çok direnemiyoruz. Bunun yeni tarım alanlarını üretime kazandırmak açısından çok da şansımız yok. Ancak biz bakanlık olarak özellikle bazı ürünlerde, bazı bitkilerde suni ortamlarda üretebilir miyiz? Bunlara biz mesela bitki fabrikaları diyoruz. Buna mesela kentsel üretim. Yani suni ortamlarda bitki üretimi, bunun örneklerini var. Ülkemizde yapılıyor. Bunu daha da yaygınlaştırıp burada üretilebilecek bitki türlerini artırma konusunda çalışmalarımız var. Bu konuda hem kendimiz çalışmalar yapıyoruz, aynı zamanda Ar-Ge destekleri, özel sektöre Ar-Ge destekleri veriyoruz. Bu konuda gelecek dönemde yoğunlaşacağız ve yoğunlaşıyoruz. Yine çok diğer konuşmacılar da çok bahsetti. Artık tarımsal üretimde verimlilikte artık bitki türlerin birçoğu genetik potansiyelin zirvesine ulaşmış durumda. Yani siz daha çok verim alamayacaksınız belki. Çok az miktarla ilerleme olacak. Buna karşı tüketimde veya üretim aşamasında gıda zincirindeki kayıpları azaltmamız çok daha önemli hale gelecek. Bu konuda da ülkemizde bir farkındalık çalışması FAO ile birlikte yaptık. Gıdanı koru, sofrana sahip çık bir projesini FAO ile birlikte bakanlığımız şu an yürütmekte. Kamuoyunda halk bilgilendirmeler yapılmakta. Bu da yani yaklaşık meyve sebzede %35'lere varan kayıplar var. Bunun önlenmesi verimin otomatikmen üretimin artması anlamına gelmektedir.
Okay.
Yine doğal...
Can you please summarize? We don't have time, unfortunately.
O zaman burada bitireyim. Soru gelirse cevaplarım. Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, may I invite Mrs. Zoya Halebarayan from Armenia to present her view on these issues. Please, Zoya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zoya from Armenia. I represent the Ministry of Economy. I'm the Deputy Head of the Department of Agricultural Extension, Innovation and Monitoring. I would like to say that in this situation is very important the planning of production. I think, and at the same time, the farmer must be sure how he could selling his product. And in this situation, according to COVID-19, I think the main problem is it, but not only it. Besides it, we have got problems with water management. In Armenia, the drip irrigation isn't enough common. And we have got a state support program on this area. Farmers can invest money and use the drip irrigation, and the state can return the half of money they had been invested on it. Another problem is connected with the old agricultural machinery and the lack of innovative technology also. Also knowledge and education is very important in this case. In Armenia, we have many uncultivated lands. For example, we did some researches to find out the reasons why farmers don't cultivate their lands, and the big problem was the lack of knowledge. That's why the education and new technologies is more than important in this situation also.
Thank you very much, Zoya. I appreciate your answer. May I remind that we are listening to the views of the panelists on what will be the main challenge which agriculture will face to produce more food with less resources in the post-COVID-19 era. I would like to invite now Mr. Abudbek Asalayev from Kyrgyzstan. Abudbek, the floor is yours. Abudbek? Хорошо, давайте.
Как и все страны в глобальном смысле, наши соседи, COVID коснулся нашей жизни, и особенно мелких фермеров сильно коснулся, потому что они потеряли рынки свежих продуктов из-за того, что у нас границы были закрыты, из-за того, что у нас между областями были границы закрыты в период карантина. Теперь конкретно отвечая на вопросы. Наша страна обладает 800 тысяч гектаров орошаемых земель и 250 тысяч гектаров багарных земель. Поэтому внедрение на орошаемых землях инновационных методов полива, а именно капельного полива, поливов орошением имеет большое значение. А в нашей стране сейчас осуществляется программа продовольственной безопасности и питания, рассчитана на 2019-2023 годы. И в связи с пандемией очень многие аспекты этой программы, как говорят по-русски, полетели. Поэтому мы нуждаемся в правильном управлении нашим правительством по управлению земельными, водными ресурсами. Ну и, конечно, как бы наша страна тоже нуждается в глобальной поддержке, в глобальных программах, например, Всемирная продовольственная программа, Всемирного банка. Мы работаем совместно, наш университет работает совместно с ФАО и ИКАРДО через Ташкент. И мы проводим совместные небольшие образовательные программы и исследовательские программы. Например, мы проводим размножение семян фасоли, размножение семян нута, размножение семян софлора. Вот у нас только что идет уборка, я пока хочу показать вам нут и софлора. Почему эта культура? Потому что в нашей стране среди детей до 5-летнего возраста очень большой процент недоедания. То есть до 5-летнем возрасте имеется недовес 12-13%. В ежесуточном потреблении белка вместо 70-40-50 граммов дети до 5-летнего возраста используют белок. Поэтому диверсификация сельского хозяйства через использование высокобелковых культур и масличных культур и исследование этих вопросов имеет важное значение. В нашей стране из 9 базовых продуктов самообеспечение достигнуто только по хлебу, по фруктам, по картофелю, по овощам. У нас не выполняется самообеспеченность по маслу, по сахару.
У вас есть 1 минута, пожалуйста.
Да. Поэтому мы совместно с ФАО и совместно с ИКАРДО будем продолжать изучать высокобелковых и масличных культур, а также проводить обучение среди студентов по программе продовольственной безопасности и питания. И пропагандировать будем идею высокобелковых культур. Спасибо.
Спасибо большое. Thank you very much. I would like now to invite Mrs. Aniko Shuhas from Hungary to reply, please. Aniko, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I just mute the translation. Thank you very much. It was very interesting to be here. And again, I had the feeling that we have more things in common than things different. Because probably you don't know that, but officially in Hungary we have a dessert. So some areas, continental areas of our country are very much affected by climate change. So all the great research ideas I heard from Israel and from the other countries are something we are also dealing with. So it would be very nice to open up a new collaboration with this, more strong collaboration with these countries. And then just a few words about the effect of COVID. What we see in Hungary, and I think in other European countries as well, that in the last 50 years, the community of the European countries and the CAP provided an abundant and relatively affordable food supply. So European consumers was taking it for granted that they have abundant and affordable food because of our CAP system. And the COVID crisis and the lockdown of the countries proved that it is an achievement which we should appreciate more, and we should appreciate more the farmers who are making it possible. So in case of research, what we see is that we need to more about the increasing or the development of short food supply chain, especially in areas where in small villages or very small communities where it is on a market basis, it's not profitable anymore to keep up a food retail store. So this is also a possibility coming from COVID crisis that online marketing of food and the logistic behind online marketing of the food developed much quicker than it would have been done without the COVID crisis. Again, with the climate issue and the environmental and climate requirements, as part of the European community, we have much more stringent and strengthened regulations, and it will be even more difficult to comply with after 2020 because of Green Deal. So it is not just something which our farmers try to adapt because they see the climate change, but because they also have to adapt because the regulations are becoming stricter and stricter. So I think the research areas where we have to help them, and probably we can provide some insights how we do it, is to translate policy measures, to translate indicators and regulations, and find solutions from genetics to digitalization in all the areas, and then bring back or co-create research and innovation to and with the farmers. So both the researchers and the farmers should understand the policy measures and the solutions in an easily adaptable way. And I was very happy to see in all of the presentations that extension services and knowledge transfer is an important element. So I think that's also something which we learned from COVID, that climate and environment protection is very important. But if we don't make it viable for the farmers to keep on farming, then we will have food supply issues, which never happened in the last 50 years in the European Union.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear panelists. We don't have more time, but in order to conclude and highlight the main takeaway message of our very interesting, very fascinating webinar today, I would like to invite Mr. Selvarajo Ramasamy, Head of the Research and Extension Unit FAO, for some concluding remark. Selvarajo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Tanya, and good morning and good afternoon to all. So there is substantial evidence that investment in agriculture research can lead to significant agriculture growth and poverty reduction that we have seen very clearly from the presentations. Agriculture research can play a major role in unlocking the potential of agricultural innovation to sustainably improve production and livelihoods. In the COVID-19 context, national agriculture research systems have to evolve and become more efficient and effective. They must also respond to farmers' demands and benefit from potential offered by new funding opportunities and national or international partnerships. Agriculture research must consider both the immediate and longer-term needs of farmers, including building on lessons from the impacts of COVID-19. There is a need to shift the agriculture research agenda away from the productivity gains towards food system perspective, environmental concerns, including climate change that we have seen often was referred, and the efficient use of resources and the innovative tools and methods, including digital tools. Therefore, the emphasis on agriculture research must be threefold. The first one is the importance of investing in agriculture research is very clear. A wide range of studies have been carried out to assess the economic returns deriving from investment in agriculture research. Recent studies and results show that cost-benefit ratio is 1 to 12, and this is substantially high. That gives the potential role of agricultural research in sustainable agriculture and food security. Estimates show that investment in public sector agricultural research continue to grow globally. If you take from 2000 to 2016, investments increased from $31 to $47 billion using purchasing power parities. However, there are huge inequalities in agricultural research spending worldwide. The share of public sector agriculture research spending by low-income countries was only 2% in 2016, the same as in 2000 and also in 1981. And there is no change at all with respect to public sector funding for agriculture research in low-income countries. Therefore, there is a strong need to increase the investment in agriculture research to address the current and future challenges, including post-COVID-19 context. Second, reforming national agriculture research systems by strengthening institutional and technical capacity are very, very important. This may include reforming of NARS, that is National Agriculture Research Systems, in response to the many challenges and emerging issues they face, including drawing lessons from COVID-19 pandemic. Formulation and updating of strategic plans for national agriculture research systems to provide a roadmap for agriculture research is crucial. We should make use of the new approaches, including agricultural innovation systems approach, to strengthen the capacity of various actors to innovate. The actors may include, but not limited to, agricultural education, agricultural research, agricultural extension and advisory services, business enterprises, other bridging institutions and market actors, together with enabling environment, including innovation policies. Third and the last, the focus area, that is strengthening partnership in agriculture research, is the key. International and regional initiatives should be strengthened to benefit from synergies and make more efficient use of scarce resources. Partnership in agriculture research should be strengthened so that they can benefit from South-South, North-South, and triangular cooperation. These are the three focus areas that we can draw from the several presentations and discussions during this webinar focusing on agriculture research. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Salvarojo, for the concluding remarks. Very good. After this, it's time to finish our webinar. I would like to thank all the participants, the key speakers, panelists for the inputs. I would also like to thank to the organizers, interpreters, technical and communication team behind the scene for making this event possible. I wish everyone a nice day. Thank you very much and goodbye. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Все, можем выходить уже, да?